to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom. And in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Really do want to thank every single person that supports us on Patreon and PayPal. We appreciate, love you so much. And everyone that has subscribed to the Dr. Mumbi Spiritual Show. Love it. All the comments. There's so many just positive vibes that we're all generating here. And I really just want to send all those, those accumulated positive vibes right back at you. May they uplift your life and enable you to make some bold moves, because we're in such exciting times. I did a show a couple of weeks ago where I talked about romantic relationships and what should people do if you're awakened and your partner isn't. And some people are in some really difficult situations right now where they realize that they married someone who was never going to awaken and doesn't want to awaken, and those dynamics end up being very complicated. There was some great commentary there as well. You can see the video. I think I've linked it up here. Great comments from people who had actually gone through the experience, etc. But the question that was kind of generated out of that is, okay, this is how we deal with romantic relationships, but how do we deal with family? How do we deal with family, especially with everything happening with the V-shot and the experiment? And this has split families and relationships right down the middle. And the danger is, beloveds, is that Babylon has designed this thing to be in such a way where if they get one of your family members, they get you all. Because those people are literally, their paws are literally, pushing out these toxins, which can then be caught like the flu. Literally, that's how this whole thing is behaving. And so, I think there's even some countries who said, okay, we're 60% vaccinated. That's all we need. Little did we know about the rollover effect of this, and how, that 60% would literally, infect the whole population. So these questions about family, beloveds, are really critical at this time. And we really have to make some difficult decisions, because there'll be mothers who are pushing their children to take it. If you're above 18, you should really be making your own decisions. But there's so many dynamics that we've created, toxic, narcissistic dynamics that we've created in the, Black community, in the melanated community, that kind of really make us, these toxic family situations that can make you fall into the pit right with your family. And so it's so critical at such a time as this to really be standing on your own mind, beloveds. You can't do something because mama said it, because daddy said it, because, even hubby said it. You really have to investigate everything, because it's really the decision you take now. It's like you're taking the mark of the beast. And the decision you take now will impact you and your descendants for a very long time. It will make it really hard to come out of that Babylon matrix, beloveds. It's really, you're not going to enjoy the great awakening and acceleration of consciousness that's going to happen. And so that question of what do you do when you're awakened and your family is not? Because even a lot of people have reached out to me saying they want to relocate to Africa, but their family just ridicules it. Like, they really don't get it. And that's why we really have to put the whole family thing into perspective, beloveds. You see, our physical family isn't even really, I don't really want to say that, but our physical family isn't really our spiritual family, beloveds. And many of them are gatekeepers to our own liberation. And many who have stood up for themselves and made those bold steps, like moving back to the continent, moving out of the cities, and becoming vegan, all these major personal steps that people have taken. Part of it meant letting go of family. Because before, we were made to feel like our elders knew everything. And maybe in the ancient times, they really did know everything. Not even maybe, they really did. Elders had that title for a reason. But in this day and age, many of our elders stopped evolving. When they reached, when they became parents or whatever. And many are learning from their children. Many are awakening because they are of their children, and maybe that's why they had their children. Maybe that's the soul agreement between them. But beloveds, in this season, you have to recognize that as a child, you don't belong to your parents. And I know this is so controversial to say as an African woman, but you really don't belong to your parents. They're your custodians. They help you. They're your channel to come into this world, and you have to have utmost respect for them. But you don't have to do everything they say. You don't have to take the shot just because they tell you to. And we need to get over the savior complex of trying to save anybody, but especially our family that is unawakened. Because people have already taken their decision, beloveds. And that's one thing I realized when a close family member got the shot. And I was like, the consequences of that are so deep, because I literally can't even hang out with you because my womb will be in danger. I mean, that's how deep it's going to become. Like, if you've decided you're not taking the shot and your family does, you literally can't see them again until we figure out what's going on or how to prevent yourself, or unless you're super highly elevated. So you have to see everything in its utmost correct perspective, beloveds. And don't be emotional. You can love from a distance. And many of us will have to do that if you're serious about the awakening. It's literally like you have to be willing to let go of everything to save yourself. And in letting go of some things, you will be doing them a favor where it will trigger their own awakening, their own restoration, their own reformation. Mainly, the family you're born into, you have karmic soul contracts with. So maybe in a previous life you did something to them, so now in this life they're in a position of authority as a mother, father over you. There's so many karmic dynamics, and usually you can figure it out. Like, I always felt my mother was my sister in another life. Always. I won't go too deep into that. And then the dynamics have kind of confirmed that. So you can always tell what different people's roles, once you start meditating. If you ask Spirit, you don't walk alone. Spirit will reveal to you, oh yeah, this person, you shot them in a previous life, so now that, no, I'm joking, that's extreme. But usually there's some karmic issues that you need to be resolved. But beloveds, the Babylon system has closed out. The Babylon movie is over. And so as that ends, so do all those social contracts that were in place. And so we have to be brave enough and bold enough now to live life on our own terms, because too many of us are living life on our family terms, and it's to our detriment. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Tuko pamoja.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Special shout out to our Patreon family. We appreciate, love you so much. Thank you so much for supporting us. And for all the deeply spiritual conversations that we have on that platform. I really appreciate, love each and every one of you for that. So what do we do with family, beloveds, that's not awakened? First of all, we have to mentally and, just mentally and psychologically and emotionally let them go. You can't save anybody. And I think sometimes our lives are so intertwined with our families that you feel you can save them. You can't save anybody, beloveds. And you have to put that chapter. As I said, the Babylon Matrix is gone. The Babylon movie is over, beloveds. So all those characters that you were playing, they were the mother, you were the daughter, they were the father, all of those are done. They're null and void, except for in your mind. So now that they're null and void, beloveds, they only have the power you give them. And many of us, as a global melanated community, just because of the dynamics in which we set up our families have ended up being the greatest indoctrinators and gatekeepers without knowing it. Without knowing it. They have been the ones who have implemented the Babylon system more effectively than the Babylonians themselves. And it's not even to be angry at them, because they did what they knew how at that time. It's like I was speaking to an elder when I was doing my research for my PhD, and she was telling me how, we gave our children, we knew we weren't free, so we sent you guys to school so that you could figure out how to get us free. And we sent you deep into the Babylon system so that you could figure out how to get us free. But one of the hardest things you learn as you're awakening is that some family may come some of the way, but not all family will come all the way on this awakening journey with you unless you're truly blessed. And so you have to be willing to let go and forge ahead on your own. And if they do, catch up, or if they do show some interest, you can help them. You can give them a helping hand, as long as it doesn't interfere with your journey. Because it's like we're in a race. And let's say your family is your team, right? And you're in the marathon. And literally, like if you watch the Kenyan marathoners, how they run, because they train together. Literally, they'll train as a team. So because it's such a long race, there's some will take the win for a little while, and then others will take the win. So some will take the lead, and then others will take the lead, and they kind of share that, the environmental effects, so that and then working as a team, and then towards the end, it's every man for himself. And when you see it, and when you ask most athletes, it's like, as long as Kenya won, we all won. I'm just giving the example of Kenya and the athletes, of how we must operate with our families. You see, we've come together this far, but now it's the final press. And the most important thing is that your bloodline makes it, beloveds. And so for your bloodline to make it, you can't look behind. You got to keep ahead, because maybe you're the one who's been chosen to make it into what is going to be a glorious world, glorious reality. I can't even tell you how amazing it's going to be. Oh, after all we've been through, seriously, it will feel like celebration for 1,000 years plus. But maybe you're the one amongst your family who's been chosen to make it. And sometimes our family don't know that they're the worst gatekeepers, that they're the ones who have mashed us up the most, that they're the ones who have created the biggest mental obstacles, because they didn't know how to love, and they were broken inside, and broken people break people. So the fundamental thing, what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way, what I'm really trying to say, beloveds, is you have to be willing. You need to let your family go and put them in the right perspective spiritually and mentally. So that if you do need to take distance from them because of decisions they've taken, you can do that, and your energy won't be draining out to them because you're heartbroken, you're emotional about this, you're emotional about that. So it's really to just see everything as logically as possible. That's the most important thing, beloveds. You have to literally be willing to walk away from any and all family members. So get over the emotion of it. If you're as serious as you are about awakening and making it through, through the finish line, not just to the finish line, but through into the new world, into the restored, elevated, highly vibrational world. then you have to be willing to do what it takes. So let go of them even emotionally. I think that's the hardest one. Oh, that's my mom. Oh, that's my dad. Let go of them emotionally so that you can be more of help to them. Because in these times, it's going to take tough love to get some of our family members to wake up in the final hour. You know how last minute we love to be. To wake up at the final minute. It's going to take some tough love. And by standing up for yourself and doing what you need to do for your own life, you may just help save the lives of many around you. It may not even be your parents necessarily, but maybe your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews who are in their teens or young adults. Just seeing you stand up and like take a stance will also give them the courage to do that. So we achieve so much by really standing in our own power and living our truth. When we live our truth, so many people are observing, beloveds, and it affects many people. But when we don't live our truth, because we don't want to offend Big Mama and because, elders are this, all the excuses, and, that's my sister, even though we've hated each other all our lives, she's still blood. Blood is thicker than water. All these mental phrases, you have to just put that all in the right perspective. Realize, they always say you came alone, you leave alone, kind of thing. But maybe you're the one who's chosen to make it to the finish line. But these are not difficult decisions. So start early, beloveds. Start disconnecting early. And that doesn't mean you ignore them and you don't take their phone calls, but maybe eventually you'll need to. Because they're vibing low and every time you talk to them, they pull you down. Maybe you will need to because you must put yourself first now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is not an easy subject because of the family matrix that Babylon has created that was really never like that. We were never in this nuclear situation as children, subject to one woman, one man in a dysfunctional thing, screaming at each other, doing all this craziness. We were never that. We were raised by the community. So we kept our innocence and we had our, we grew up in such a beautiful way where we were just allowed to live without being bombarded by all this pain and sorrow and manipulation and insecurity and just all these emotions of unbalanced people around us, unbalanced caregivers. So already the family dynamic is unnatural. Give respect where respect is due. Help where you can, where it's not detrimental to you. But, under it all, keep pushing forward. Tuko pamoja.